Hi there and welcome once again. I thought that today we could look at the phenomena that is sweeping systematically from the far-right mentality into the centre-right mentality. Unfortunately and quite frankly, this worrying trend is, in my view, moving towards the dangerous end of the spectrum, and I'm becoming increasingly more uncomfortable with. Now, we will look at some recent examples of this. Katie Hopkins, Alex Belfield, along with our boy Jeff Taylor. And maybe, just maybe, we can get a grip on the situation and actually combat it. Because unlike other people, I'm saying to you, please feel free to comment below. You may agree, you may disagree, and so long as your argument is polite, I think we can all learn a little. So let's go. What I think we can all agree upon is that far-right rhetoric is being increasingly adopted by the centre-right and has kind of forged ahead because it has remained unchecked, uncensored, and therefore advertently or inadvertently encouraged by our great and powerful mainstream media. The troubling part is that their message is orchestrated with precision. Now, the common course of action by people such as Katie Hopkins and our fellow commentators has three stages. One is to latch on to the basic human characteristic to discover and learn more about their own surroundings. Two is recognizing that humans like to be happy and humor helps that enormously. And three, always present an underlying question that suits your argument, regardless of the facts. From a viewers of David Attenborough to Nigel Farage, there's no doubt that people's self-worth escalates when they feel they know more and can therefore appear to themselves at least to speak with some extra authority. So with these points in mind, let's take a listen to Katie.
A really quick question for my vaccinated superiors and betters. If vaccinated people can catch COVID, and they surely can, in Massachusetts, the recent outbreak, 3/4 of those who caught COVID were fully vaccinated. And the fully vaccinated can transmit COVID. In fact, there is some evidence that people who are double vaccinated are more likely to pass COVID on. If you can catch it and you can spread it, what is the point of a vaccine passport? Is it simply that you've had a little prick, that you are a little prick, and you really, really want a certificate to prove it?
So, as you can see, the tongue-in-cheek humour jumps out at you. And you can also see that she could have a point because she did not really tell any lie, but did suggest that there may be some evidence, blah, 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 blah. You know, of course, the fact that 99.99% of credible factual data rubbishes that suggestion, there is no evidence to support her argument nonetheless. But that will be completely lost on many. Now, what we see here and should recognize is that these commentators make a conscious choice to ignore basic facts when delivering their message, but yet this in itself does not explain how they manage to fool people so successfully. But once you discover that their modus operandi is almost identical, perhaps those of us with a more centralist opinion can actually counter their argument and get that message out there. Their method of delivery is humour. That's the key. They know that the British people love a little tongue-in-cheek humour. You know, let's face it, British people have, in my opinion, next to the Irish perhaps, one of the best senses of humour in the world, and it's often taken for granted. It's the way British people, Irish people deal with things. We deal with things through humour. We get our messages across through humour. Like really great comedians, like Billy Connolly or the late great Robin Williams, shared the ability to highlight our own failings and insecurities, and I guess encourage us to one, laugh, and two, direct that laughter at ourselves, which in turn gives us a license to continue doing it because it's acceptable and common human behavior. On the case of these guys, they're directing the laughter at somebody. They're not directing it inwards, and it's a subtle difference. Now, that's why I included in this video the data from Massachusetts. But what she did here is deliberately not say that the vaccinations have proven to save lives, and instead concentrates more on almost ridiculing those who have been vaccinated. One will see this modus operandi of omitting vital data as a common thread throughout such tripe. Oh, and by the way, she also conveniently omits to say that she herself has already been fully vaccinated. Before anybody contradicts me, the reason I know this is that our entry into Australia would have been denied if this requirement was not met. And just to let you know, Australians aren't even allowed to travel out of the country if A, it isn't absolutely necessary, and B, they're not already fully vaccinated. Okay? Now, you may feel that I've just plucked this video out of nowhere and that I've used it simply to advance my argument. Well, on this one, you're wrong. In this presentation, I'm only referring to videos that were made within the last 24 hours. And I could do that every day for the last year. Now, let's listen to Alex Belfield or Belford, whatever his name is, who delivers his message almost in the style of Ken Dodd, but the subliminal message is full right-wing garbage.
Well, what have we here? A week in which we saw some of the worst examples of driving by e-scooterists, and those cyclists, we find out that they're going to be given the right of way against cars because cars should respect cyclists and e-scooterists. How interesting that pedestrians are going to be given more rights against motorists during a week when we saw an illegal immigrant sent to jail for 2 years for running a red light and running a man over crossing at a pedestrian crossing whilst he was on a bike and killed him. This is very interesting times, isn't it, during a week when we found out that HGVs are going to be got rid of and they're going to put wires above all motorways so they can be electric, and we found out that there's going to be new fines left, right and centre for anyone who has 4 wheels. Of a man because they just don't realise the power of what they've got between their legs. It's the same issue John Barrowman had in pantomime in 1997.
Now let's ignore the stupidity of the story of the HGVs accompanied by that Photoshop picture and take a gander at the title of that video. The title was Lefties and Wokeism Running the Asylum. Bikes to get priority over cars. Again, humor is used effectively. The message is rubbish, but the humor is used effectively. What I hope you agree to here is that you almost must accept that these commentators are making a conscious choice to ignore basic facts when delivering their message. Now, finally, let's take a listen to our good old boy, Jeffy.
Yes, it looks like the new Turing Scheme, to be announced this week, will go much further than the EU Erasmus Plus scheme that we have now left as a result of Brexit. And this will have Nicola Sturgeon chewing wasps, won't it? The Times reports that the Turing Scheme will allow study in 150 places as far afield as the US, Canada, Japan, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, and how about Azerbaijan, Zimbabwe, Cuba, India, Mongolia, and the Palestinian territories. And the grants of £110 million will be issued in the coming week to 120 universities, schools and further education colleges.
Again, you can hear that jibe delivered in humour. And the title of this video, Brexit wins again. And like the previous two, he follows the same pattern of omitting relevant data, poking humour at those opposed to his right-wing mindset, and chooses to ignore, by the way, that his scheme, the great Turing Scheme, is 58 million shy of the amount allocated under the Erasmus scheme to the UK. You know, it's unbelievable. Now, I'm going to leave you with something, and it's extremely important, and it's not really relevant to this video, but I think we have to watch Boris Johnson